So this week I got really carried away with a different project, and yeah, time just flew past really quickly. I didn't really have a video for today, but last week I designed and 3D printed the portable editing hub, or like I sent it to PCBWay and they printed the casing in resin and that little control dial in aluminium. The only issue with that video was that I sometimes have this assumption that people know the stuff that I know, and that resulted in me not really explaining how I use it or showcasing the way that I use it and what you can use it for. So yeah, that was kind of a missed opportunity. There were some people in the comments asking like, hey, are you going to show like what are you going to do with this thing? And so that's kind of what this video is about. Now, quality wise, it's a little low. It will bring you back to the good old days of YouTube where everybody was just doing whatever they wanted and not really caring about the production quality. So hope you enjoy. So just also quickly want to show you like everything somewhat fits on the MacBook itself, which is something you often do, right? You walk into a meeting, you kind of jumble everything up onto your MacBook and then you walk in and then you have the meeting and then do that whole thingamajig again. So we have the editing hub. I have a cable here which will supply power. Now it doesn't require the power, but I just want to showcase like how its thermal performance is, because like when you max out all the ports, with a lot of other hubs, they'll overheat and crash. And this one is exceptionally well built for some reason. I don't know what they did to it, but yeah, I just want to showcase like with power connected, with the cam link connected in a bit, everything seems to work constantly. So that's really amazing. And when power is connected, this is a cable that I got with the hub itself from the Uni accessories thing. And that kind of plugs into the side here. Now left some extra depth, which will protect this cable from getting like destroyed, or the hub inside getting destroyed. So when you push it upwards, you see there, it's just, nothing will happen to this. And basically, stuff happens. So I just want it to be very secure and last a very long time. We can plug that into the MacBook. Of course, it also works with Windows and that kind of stuff. And when that's connected, you can, it just turns on automatically. Sometimes you need to press the button. So the thing I'm most excited for is actually the file structure macro. I built that macro pretty much when I bought the LOUPEDECK like 2 or 3 years ago. I'm not entirely sure when that was. I've shown this to other people and nobody seems to really get it. Like they just have a folder on their desktop which they copy and paste. For some reason that doesn't work for me. So basically what I'm talking about here is when you start a new project, you've just filmed some footage for a client and you need to start the edit. I go to a new folder, so this is a test folder, hit this video button over here, and it basically creates the entire file structure for that video production. And it has everything based on numbers, right? So 01 is Premiere Pro, 02 is After Effects. That means that all the folders will be kept in the same position. So when you open that folder, you immediately have that muscle memory of, okay, I need to open Premiere Pro, and you go immediately there, which in the previous file structure macro I didn't have, and it became kind of a hassle to find certain things. So this is very useful. And yeah, it saves quite a lot of time, not only in the creation process of that project, but also later down the line when, for example, you need to reopen a project from 2 or 3 months ago. Everything's there, right? You might have archived it onto your NAS or whatever, but it's still all linked and everything is nicely organized. So in that way, it saves quite a lot of time. So next we have the camera link integration. I have a camera set up right outside of frame here. Let me see, I hope it's still battery in it. Okay, so that's on. And yeah, basically at the back here, just plug that in. So as you can see, everything is nicely pointing backwards. It's nice out of the way. And I feel like this is really useful for if you work in an environment where you're making e-learning videos, for example. This is mostly if you're working like a 9 to 5. Then you can use this as a clean feed out, or you can use it to record the entire video with. So I'm not entirely sure if this is going to work because I'm also screen recording with QuickTime. So yeah, that's me. Let's say I was recording a tutorial video on my MacBook, and I have a scene set up over here and a different scene which is recording my screen. You can basically switch scenes with the LOUPEDECK here, and record the entire video on this device live. Now, another thing you could use this for, which I really like using it for, is connecting like an iPad. So the camera battery died, by the way. That's why it shut off just a moment ago. It's an old camera. I haven't used it in a while. So let's plug this in. So say I'm on a meeting with a client, for example, and I just quickly want to showcase the something like drawing something like in fresco, where we have a mood board or like a storyboard meeting, and quickly, gotta log. Never mind. Let's just open notes, and I quickly want to draw something out in the online meeting. You can switch between. You'd set this up as like the webcam from the MacBook, and you could switch between the iPad and the webcam from the MacBook. OBS has this feature in there where you can start a virtual cam, and then it uses this setup to showcase to the Teams meeting, which is pretty awesome. And yeah, I've used that a couple of times before. It does come off a little weird. People think you spend quite a lot of time on setting up a setup like that, so it can come off a little vain, but I generally don't care. I like my tech. So Premiere Pro started up, and I'll just showcase the main things that I use the LOUPEDECK for. There's, I'm using 1% of what this thing is capable of, but the main reason I prefer this one over the speed editor from DaVinci Resolve is because it's very customizable. So all of these buttons over here, you can customize to certain things. And I've spent quite a lot of time over the years trying to get this to a point where it works for me. And at the moment it does. There's just a few that I don't use, like these buttons up here I don't use. This one I don't use either. And that one I don't use either. So basically these are the only three over here on this page, and there are some different ones over here. So we'll just walk through it. Basically the way I hold this is I rest my thumb over here next to the insert edit button. So I've customized that to insert edit. If you don't know what that means is, like, we'll use the dial to go through the timeline here. And when I want to place a cut on this clip, then I just press that button. What you can do is go backwards with this control dial and press ripple delete, which will delete that clip that we just cut in half. And you can really quickly go through talking head footage like this. You just scroll through it, go to a point with the waveform, you can kind of see where somebody starts talking. You stop at that point, and I use the Logitech MX Master 3S to start the playback with this button right here. So I press that, starts the playback, and then I can listen to what's being said. And with this, you can stop it as well. So it's really a two-part thing, like the Logitech MX Master and the editing hub. So when somebody makes a mistake or has an error or whatever in the footage, you insert edit, move a little forward, do that, hit ripple delete, and then it deletes it. In this case, it deletes the entire clip there. So you have to be kind of careful with how you use it, but that was okay. In here also we have, like, when you actually use it properly in the project panel, then you scroll through the footage, set your in point, set your out point, and next to it is an insert button. So let's say we go all the way to the end of the timeline. Then you just hit insert, and that inserts it into the timeline. That's kind of like append, but then for Premiere. But in this case, it just places it wherever you have the playhead and moves backwards the other footage that was in the way. Let's see, we have page 2 down here as well, which if you slide this upwards, this is something I use quite a lot. Let's say you were working in a 4K timeline with 6K footage. You have some leeway in regards to where that's positioned. So when a clip is highlighted, when you're over the top of the clip, you can use these buttons to position it, right? And that's really quite awesome. On this side, you have more precise, like this is 1 pixel, this is 10 pixels, and that way you can adjust it. And here we have scale, which is also quite useful. You just like do that, and then you start to see like how quickly you can go through a timeline with this. You scroll through it. I want to position this a little bit different so that the mountain is in frame more. You just do that really quickly. Now, I'm not saying this will always work. Sometimes it does crash and, doesn't do a good job. That's mostly on Windows though. Usually on Macintosh, it works okay. And we can also slide sideways to go to a different page over here. And this is something I use quite often as well. So let's say you're working with 60 FPS footage and you want to slow it down 50%. I created this custom macro which goes into the speed and duration setting and then just hits 50 and then hits enter. So it's really quick to slow down footage, but also to speed it back up to 100%. All right, so the battery of the camera died just a moment ago, and I'm not entirely sure how much of that like little tutorial about the Premiere Pro integration you caught. But in general, I think you understand what I use it for and what you could use it for if you're into this kind of stuff. It's basically a macro pad, right? So you can use it for multiple different programs and integrate it in the way that you want. But in general, the way that I have it set up right here, I really enjoy that. Like having the SSDs integrated, having the dongle and stuff integrated where the mouse immediately works and some ports at the back alongside the cam link is, yeah, it really works for me. And I used one of these devices, like the old version. This is version 3. I used that device for 2 years straight. So I know that this one's going to get some pretty hefty use, and I'm really glad how it turned out. I hope it gave you some ideas for your own macro pad setup thing. Yeah, leave a like, leave a comment. I hope you enjoyed this very low quality video.